asking me about myself. They keep asking me what's on my mind. So I feel that I should tell the world. Who am I? The man in the mirror. Say it loud. The man in the mirror. Say it proud. The man in the mirror. One more time, cause I still can't hear you. Who am I? The man in the mirror. Say it loud. The man in the mirror. Say it proud. The man in the mirror. Now tell the world. The man in the mirror. Welcome, welcome, one and all. The Still a Man platform proudly presents Man in the Mirror. Today, well, even before we say that, let me just put this little disclaimer out there. I'm gonna try not to butcher the lingo. I want to make sure we're using the correct terms when referring to certain things, and that's why the guests are going to make certain that they keep me and my brother on point. All right. So, the Man in the Mirror interview, in this setting, it is imperative that the interviewee controls the narrative. All right. And since true change comes from within, let's let the process begin. All right. My name is David. I'm your host. And we also have Robert, that is the co-host. And we got Caroline and we got Chrissy. And these guys are going to tell you all about prison reform and their mission and petition. All right. So, first question. And we are going to go to Miss Caroline first. Who are you?
Hi, thanks so much for having me. I'm Caroline Sullivan. I am a member of the Empowering Descendant Communities to Unlock Democracy project. And I'm involved in that project because for the past over 4 years now, I've been involved in the Democracy Behind Bars Coalition here in Massachusetts.
Okay. And now, what about you, Miss Chrissy?
Thanks, David. I am Chrissy Casa, and I have recently joined on. Well, I guess not recently. It's been a good 8 or 9 months now. Still feels really recent that I joined EDC, which is short for Empowering Descendant Communities to Unlock Democracy. I'm the legislative organizer for them, and briefly, I can say EDC is focused on jail-based voting rights, universal voting restoration, and civic education amongst impacted communities.
Okay, guys, and we got a special treat today because we have four individuals that are here. And we have someone that could not be here, but it was real important that we hear his voice. So we have Mr. Alamine's views. We have his perspective. He has pre-recorded his answers, and I thought it was very important that that be a part of the show. So Miss Chrissy is going to share his recorded message with you guys. So just hold tight, and she's going to share that with everybody.
Okay, let me know you can't hear.
Yeah.
Here we go. This is from Alamine.
My name is Corey Patterson, but most people know me as Alamine. I'm from Boston, Massachusetts, born and raised. Been incarcerated for the past 16 years now. The work I do is pretty much I advocate for universal voting restoration in Massachusetts, which means I'm fighting for all adult residents to have the right to vote. even those like myself who are currently serving time for felony conviction. I do what I do really on behalf of roughly 8,000 incarcerated men and women in Massachusetts who are currently denied the right to vote, 60% of whom are Black and Latino. And on the inside, we're really suffering for many reasons. We're suffering because the Massachusetts DOC has no solution for the K2 drug epidemic behind the wall. And right now, the legislature's only solution is to introduce a bill designed to criminalize those who are addicted to this drug. We're suffering from unfair classification hearings, manufactured classification code overrides which keep the majority of prisoners housed in medium and maximum security prisons, even though our classification points recommend we should be in medium security facilities. And the people of Massachusetts really should know that classification overrides are not just harmful to us, but to them too, because taxpayers really have to foot the bill of the higher cost. Because when you put when you house most of the incarcerated people in maximum security prisons, they're more expensive than lower security prisons, so they cost more to operate. I also do what I do because the commissioner hasn't allowed incarcerated people to receive furloughs for over 30 years. Even though the furlough program has been really one of the most successful reentry tools and community transition programs that Massachusetts corrections have ever known. Almost all of the people who successfully completed the furlough program never came back to prison. We're suffering because over the past decade, the prison population has been cut in half, yet prisoners are not getting the help and programs they need to return to prison. Not to return to prison, because more and more taxpayer dollars are going to correctional administrative officers and the aging prison population. We're suffering from mental health crisis. We're suffering from inhumane treatment and Eighth Amendment violations. We're suffering from due process violations. We're suffering from racism. We're suffering from labor exploitation, canteen pricing inflation. After being arrested, we're suffering from police corruption, Brady violations, and wrongful convictions. We are suffering from all of these things and more, but our elected officials don't seem to really care. I guess they believe that because they're incarcerated, it means they don't have to represent us. So I do what I do because I believe when we have the right to vote, we can put more pressure on both elected and appointed officials to pay attention to those of us who are suffering within these facilities, which they give $1 billion to every year. Yeah, I see myself in 5 years. In 5 years, hopefully I'll be a free man. Hopefully I'll be a free man and out there still fighting and selling this and franchises. If it hasn't happened yet. But if it has happened, then I'll be involved in some other fight to make our country not secret. I'm not sure exactly what that is or how it looks though. But I know I'll be involved in some type of fight. That's just who I am.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you something that was powerful. And Chrissy and Caroline, I really want to have a follow-up with Elamine once he is released. And we're going to speak this into existence. He will be free, and he will be freed soon. And when he comes home, he's going to continue to fight because God is positioning him for greatness. So he when he comes home, make certain that he has a seat at that table, because I feel like I said true change comes from within, and he's already starting to make certain that it happens from where he is right now. So he's a great advocate. I can hear it already.
Yeah.
So we need people like him that have endured the suffering that he is speaking of so that they can come out and they can tell everybody else because his testimony can bring about the necessary change. And like I said before, this is a precautionary tale, so this is for all the young people out there and all the people that have to endure that. This is what you have in store. So again, people seem to forget about you once you have been incarcerated, but they're human and they require the same things that those that are in the free world require. So let's not forget about our brothers and sisters that are incarcerated because they can't forget. They're living it every day. And
Mhm.
again, I thank you, Alameen. That was very powerful. And again, we are going to have a second conversation because I want people to hear you loud and clear. And plus, I want you to tell the world um what has changed once you are on the outside. All right, guys. Anybody got anything to add before we go on to the next questions?
Nope, we're
Now
good.
we can go on. Yeah.
All
Okay, I
right.
just want to make sure I got the first lady's name right. Is it Miss Kaplan?
No, Caroline.
Caroline.
Caroline. Yes.
Okay, Caroline, could you tell our viewers where are you from?
Yes. I was born and raised in Yarmouth, Massachusetts, out on Cape Cod. And I'm actually currently in New York City as a law student, and I have been doing this work virtually, creatively over Zoom for the past few years. But I'm from Yarmouth, Massachusetts.
Hmm?
Okay, Miss Chrissy, would you like to tell our viewers where you from?
Sure. I was born and raised in Springfield, Massachusetts, and have lived in Massachusetts my whole life. I am currently outside Boston in Wellesley, Mass, right now.
Hmm. So, for the viewers, just gotta let you know these sisters are doing it. They're out front. They're making sure that they lead the charges. And I'm gonna go ahead and plug our online store. EmporiumPlus.org is an online store. It is a one-stop shop. If you can't find what you're looking for in this online store, then you are not shopping in the right store. And in this store, we have a brand that is called SOS, Support Our Sisters. Robert, can you please tell the viewers what else can they find in EmporiumPlus.org?
Well, you can find fashions and all brands at emporiumplus.org and be forever still a man. You serum, Adopt a Parish Ladies First, and SOS Support Our Sisters, and some more merch in emporiumplus.org.
All right, thank you very much. All right, so we have determined who you are, where you're from. Now let's talk about what you do. Okay, Miss Chrissy, please
Yeah.
tell the world what you do.
Um, well, in terms of EDC, as I mentioned, I would have come on as a legislative organizer, um, and where I said the three things that we were focusing on, the jail-based voting rights, the universal voting restoration, and the civic education. Our ultimate goal is amending the Massachusetts Constitution to end disenfranchisement for citizens incarcerated with a felony conviction. So, as legislative organizer, I am tasked with communicating with our bill sponsors. So we have Representative Erica Idahoven and Senator Liz Miranda. They are the bill sponsors. And so I stay in touch with them and their staff and see how we can work together to just keep getting the word out about the bills. Um, as well as reach out to other state legislatures, asking them to support our bills and co-sponsor them and entering into, ongoing dialogue with them in terms of why they should support our bills and restoring voting rights and, giving them more information if they're not supportive, and just staying involved with that. I'm also tasked with encouraging other citizens, whether incarcerated or not incarcerated, to get involved in the legislative process by calling and emailing their legislators, writing testimonies or testifying in person at the State House when we have hearings in support of the bills. Um, so those are kind of my main areas as legislative organizer of what I do.
Love it. Love it. Okay. Miss Caroline, tell the world what you do.
Yes. So, as I mentioned, I have been involved with the Democracy Behind Bars Coalition for several years now, and that has since morphed into this project. And so, I think to build on what Chrissy just shared about kind of the three different prongs of jail-based voting, universal voting restoration, and civic education, which is what we do as an entire group, I thought it might be helpful to lay a little groundwork because there's actually a lot of misinformation or lack of understanding for, I think, a lot of folks, including people who might be listening to this podcast, on what the actual status is of people's voting rights within the state. And so when we talk about people voting while incarcerated, there's a few different categories that people might fall into. So the first one is people who um, have are being held pretrial or convicted of misdemeanors. Um, they do not lose their voting rights, which means you could be an eligible person while incarcerated from jail. Um, only in Massachusetts, the only people who lose voting rights are those who are currently serving their sentences for a felony conviction. Those voting rights are restored automatically upon release, including for parole or probation. And so I think this is how the status of things in Massachusetts, but there's a patchwork of felony disenfranchisement laws across the country, which can lead to just a lot of confusion on who can and cannot vote, with a lot of people erroneously thinking that after release from a felony sentence that they might have lost their voting rights for life, which is not the case in Massachusetts. But it also means that there's this category of folks who are behind bars that do have that right to vote, pretrial or for misdemeanor convictions. And so when I initially got involved in this work, our group was doing a big push to bolster the kind of supports for the people who already had those rights behind bars, but weren't able to exercise them in practice because of a lack of information, no access to absentee ballots, or just a lot of confusion and no kind of top-down system to ensure that they could actually exercise the rights they had. And so that's kind of where the work that I started doing, advocating around some jail-based voting provisions in a law that was enacted in June 2022, kind of strengthening the requirements on the Department of Corrections, on different facilities, and on our state secretary of the Commonwealth to ensure that people who are eligible to vote have the opportunity to do so. And so despite that law being enacted, there's still a lot of work to be done. And so part of what we do as a group, not Chrissy and I individually, but other folks within our space, is really ensure that those new protections are being enforced in practice, and also doing a lot of in-person get out the vote workshops and civic engagement workshops within the Suffolk County jails, and the Nashua Street Jail and the Suffolk County House of Corrections. And so there's a lot of kind of in-person engagement with this group of people who are the incarcerated eligible voters. What both Chrissy and I really are focused on is taking this a step further and making sure that everyone has that right to vote, no matter whether you are incarcerated for a felony conviction. And that's what our universal voting restoration side does. And so I think that's like a useful framing for the work we do. And right now, as Chrissy mentioned, we're working towards changing the state constitution, building this education around what it means to lose someone's right to vote, the kind of negative impacts. It's a kind of an all downsides, no upsides policy, where there's no benefit to it actually reduces recidivism when voting rights are restored. In Massachusetts, it's a very racialized impact of um, stripping voting rights, with Black and Latino individuals a lot more impacted than white individuals. And so I think because of this, our big push is this kind of education, building organizing infrastructure, and pushing forward these constitutional amendments. As Chrissy said, through the legislature and also through a current and ongoing signature collection campaign. And so that was very rambly, but that's kind of the how our universal restoration work fits in this broader project of what a lot of these advocates are working on in this voting and incarceration space.
Yes, yes, I love it. You guys are hard at work. So just so the viewers know, they're working hard inside and outside. So they outside, they doing the work. They got a pound the pavement campaign. They got their street team and they're doing their work. And I love it. I love it. Y'all gonna learn today. This information gonna help y'all grow. And I love the way you went into detail and you made sure they was informed. So now with certainty, it should be clear about who can vote and what rights they have regarding voting, those that are incarcerated and those that are newly released. So that's good. So when y'all come home, y'all can do your civil duty and vote. Is that true what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yes, yes. So exactly. Only in Massachusetts only strips voting rights from people currently incarcerated for felony convictions. So that means, yeah, everyone upon release can vote. And then also there's this important category of people who might be detained pre-trial, and they can also vote.
Love it. I
If then,
love it.
mhm.
Go ahead. You got more?
No, that was the kind of important structure and of how it functions. And I think an interesting tidbit is there are states that do not condition voting rights
Mm-hmm.
on criminal conviction status or incarceration status. So Maine, Vermont, Washington, D.C., and Puerto Rico allow anyone to vote.
Mm-hmm.
Incarceration, criminal conviction just is not part of that picture. And I think Christine might speak on this in one of our future questions. But Massachusetts also used to be in that category up until the year 2000. Um,
Mm.
so it's a relatively recent change that we have stripped the right to vote away from this group of people.
Okay, well, we need to give it back. I mean, maybe that can bring about the necessary change too, because again, um, these guys, they're affected by these this political processes, I should say. Well, now that we know better, we have to do better. Um, Miss Chrissy,
Yeah.
I want you to please tell the people what is prison reform?
Oh boy. That's a big question with lots of ways to go on that answer.
Well, give us the miniskirt version. Just give them the definition of what police, excuse me, prison reform is, and basically what it looks like to you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, again, with prison reform, we're really coming, at it from the point of view of voting and education and the ability to, advocate for yourself and for changes needed on your community on the inside as well as community on the outside.
Yes.
There's, you know, the whole point of being able to vote is because you have people on the outside and you have a community that you came from that you still care about, you still are involved in, and you still want to voice your opinion and cast your vote on that. And, the more you're able to be involved in that, um, it just helps with your rehabilitation, um, and your learning. And so behind the wall, the amount of reform that's going on in terms of education and um, civic engagement and involvement is like astounding. The organizations like the AACC and a whole lot of cultural organizations that are in there teaching each other and learning from each other so that when they get back out on the outside, and they will get back on the outside, they're they're educated and they're up and running and ready to go when they're back in society. So hopefully that's what you were looking for in terms of
Yes.
my definition of prison reform.
Yes. 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 You nailed it. I see. You guys are the experts. Y'all professionals. Reach one, teach one. Um, that's what we need to do. Uh, Miss Caroline, you wanna add to that? You got something to add to that?
I think Chrissy really nailed it. I think within our group, we're not advocating for specific reform around prisons. I actually think a lot of folks in our space are hold abolitionist views and ultimate goals. But I think it was exactly what she said. When what we're focused on through voting rights, but also through this broader idea of the people who are most impacted by policies are the best suited to advocate for them to be changed. And I think by the fact that we have excluded this category of people from the political process, um, you know, lawmakers, different policymakers aren't necessarily responsive to their needs. And the best, the most apt, the most well suited prison reform will actually come from a situation where the people most impacted, the people who are incarcerated, are
Yes.
advocating for those reforms. And so what we do is like, we're not advocating for one specific tweak or, and as I mentioned, I think there's a lot of kind of abolition behind all of this, but it's yeah, it's this idea that the people who know best should advocate for that. And so that's part of why we have the model that we do that involves incarcerated organizers advocating for themselves. And voting is just this, in voting and political participation more broadly will impact, every realm of advocacy and reform that touches people's lives.
I love it. I love it. Robert, you want to hit him with the next question?
Okay, to Miss Caroline. You guys alluded to kind of the next question, answering it. Why do you do what you do? But that was like in a group's point of view. Let's hear why you do what you do on a personal level.
Yes.
Okay. So I guess rewinding back to when I first got involved with the Democracy Behind Bars Coalition, which is one of the groups under EDC. I was drawn honestly by this push and pull from a very democracy reform voting rights perspective of recognizing that the most meaningful changes we want to see won't happen unless we have a responsive and reflective, government around us. And that felony disenfranchisement to me felt like this most glaring exception to our conceptions of democracy. And I first started getting involved back when I was still an undergrad, and um, I just wanted to learn more about, the policy work they were doing around jail-based voting, and would sit into these meetings where you would have people calling in from behind the wall and full participants in these kind of big coalition spaces with, these kind of state, sometimes national organizations. Like it really ran the gambit in terms of who was in these spaces. But people who were incarcerated and who were honestly the experts on this were full participants. And I think the reason that has kept me in this work and why I keep doing this work is those relationships and this deep understanding that I think what I hinted at before, that the people who are best suited to advocate for change are those most impacted. And I'm really kind of motivated by the way we work as a team in this space rather than any benchmark or achievement we've received. It's more so building out a model where someone who's incarcerated can get paired with someone on the outside so that they can, call into Zoom meetings or message them on core links and stay in the loop on things. And so kind of building out that model has, I think, continued to keep me tied into this work because I think that's what's so special about it. And that's what's so effective is this mirror model. And so yeah, the relationships have brought me into the work and kept me into this work. And I think that this potential to expand this mirror model and allow policymakers to see the humanity of people who are incarcerated through them being active participants in policymaking and advocacy is just like a very inspiring thing to continue to work towards.
Okay, I like that. Just keep doing that good work. I'm gonna go to you, Miss Chrissy, and I'm gonna ask you the same question on a personal level. Why do you do what you do?
Yes, okay. I feel like I have a lot of whys. I start with the first one. About 8 years ago, I became a mentor for an incarcerated student at MCI Concord who is working to get his bachelor's degree in the College Behind Bars program through Emerson College. He has since gotten that degree and graduated, and we've stayed close and in touch. And he was a part of the Democracy Behind Bars Coalition, the AACC, and EDC. And in our conversations, and when I would go in to visit him, in prison, he would constantly keep me up to date on the work he was doing and invite me to the Zoom meetings that Caroline was just speaking about. So I decided to join just so I would know more of what was, so important to him and in his life. And in doing so, I quickly got on board and realized there was just so much to learn, like so much I didn't know. Um, and it was just fascinating to me to realize that, in people incarcerated with a felony conviction were able to vote up into the year 2000. And that when, in the late, through the 70s and the 90s or whatever, there was a lot of organization going on behind the walls where um, inmates were organizing political action committees and trying to advocate for education and rehabilitation and drug treatment programs and all sorts of things. And once this happened, they, you know, were ultimately punished. They were, organizers were thrown into solitary confinement, and it was not seen as them, working on civic engagement. And so then ultimately, the acting governor, then Paul Cellucci, proposed a successful petition and that revoked the right and changed the Massachusetts Constitution. So learning about that and learning the history of that and knowing that I walked, through my life not knowing that had happened was just grabbed me and kept me involved, which then spoke to my other why of just my belief in humanity and that people are not their worst mistake and that my belief that everybody should be a part of our democracy and, we shouldn't be able to pick and choose who can participate in our democracy. That's just not the definition of democracy. So, those are kind of my whys, especially when you realize in Massachusetts, our own democracy here, like how much we've failed so many of our minority citizens. Um, and there's so many hurdles for them to jump over and barriers to work around and just the injustice of it all. So that's why I keep doing this and showing up.
Man, that's a good reason.
Love it, love it, love it. All right. Do you guys got any rebuttals or you want to move on to the next question?
No, I think I'm good. Next one sounds good. You, Caroline?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
All
Question
right.
number 5. What are your short-term and long-term goals? Let's go to Miss Caroline first.
Awesome. And so I think so short-term and long-term goals for our project specifically.
Yeah.
So short-term is we've alluded to this. We are in the midst of a signature collection effort across the state for around the next, I want to say 5 more weeks, maybe 4 more weeks now. And this is, as I can explain, is an important step to move a possible petition forward to change the state constitution. It's a very like long road to change a state constitution. It has to get through the legislature before it can go on the ballot before voters. And the stage we're at right now is pairing the kind of speaking and educating lawmakers with this effort to kind of build a grassroots support. And so our signature collection effort right now is part of that goal because one, a successful signature collection effort would lower the threshold that this amendment has to pass in the legislature before it heads to the ballot. And also, it's just a really important way to educate the public and spread the message and get more people involved. And so, short-term goals are for folks if interested to reach out to us and get involved in collecting signatures and informing others in their communities. And kind of long-term goals, most mechanically, we want to change the state constitution within the next few years to ensure that we do not exclude anyone from our democracy in Massachusetts on the basis of a felony conviction, really saying democracy does mean all. And so I think that's the most mechanically, those are our goals. But I think the broader goals long term are kind of what we've been talking about this whole discussion of seeing the humanity in folks who are incarcerated and um, building this culture of advocacy that involves justice impacted people, and kind of building that infrastructure out and hopefully seeing our mirror model, but we have inside and outside folks work together on this advocacy, expanded across the state and across the country. So that's kind of the various ways that I think there's multiple ways to kind of define success for our group, and part of it is actually process driven, not just final outcome. Yes, we hope to change the state constitution one day, but a lot of our success, I think, is building out this process of collaboration and advocacy and just kind of like mutual learning.
Good, good. All right, Miss Chrissy, your turn.
Okay, short-term goals. So I kind of complement the signature collection drive by having the goals of getting the support of the legislators. Um, you know, with a successful signature drive, I need less support of the legislators, so that's would be lovely. Um, but like for people listening, to get legislator support, like it would be great to have people to, you know, make sure they know who their local state reps and senators are, and anyone who can write an email or make a phone call and let them know that um, they support this and they want, their legislator to support it. Those are like my short-term goals, or encouraging people and getting them involved, because if you're a constituent, that's who, these legislators listen to. I can make a lot of phone calls and write a lot of emails, but I'm not a constituent. So I'm not really at the top of the list. So the more people who can help with that, that would be amazing. Um, long term goals, I was just on a webinar earlier listening to, it was run by the Sentencing Project, where they had a lot of people from Maine and Vermont who do allow voting on the inside. And they were talking about like how it's run and, what goes on inside the prisons there. And, they were just talking about having actual candidates come in and hold debates within the prison and even having like polling locations within the prison so that people would go there and actually, unincarcerated people go there and cast their votes. So I feel like I'm having kind of loftier long-term goals just because I watched that webinar, but it was like, wow, that is happening and it can be done. So wouldn't that be amazing?
That's a beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm.
So listen, my people, when in doubt, look to those that have been successful to help us out.
Mm-hmm.
There are people out there that's doing the work and they have been successful and they're bringing about the necessary change. So the information's out there. Let's talk about this petition. Who and where should we, or should I say, who should we contact so that we can sign this petition, and how can we access it? What is there any social media platforms that this petition is listed on or posted on?
Yes, so we have a website, and I'll leave all the links for you also to post up the edc-unlockdemocracyma.com. We also have an Instagram account we really encourage people to follow. On both those sites, there are links to ways to get involved, specifically for this signature petition effort. We have Alamin, who spoke earlier, pre-recorded on this podcast, as well as Melkor, are two kind of leads of this campaign for universal voting restoration. And so, if you are interested in volunteering to help collect signatures, there's a place for you can sign up, and we can get you looped into different groups. We also have a list of locations that have the petition that you can go to there and sign up and to sign those petitions there. And also on our Instagram and the website, there is a form if you are interested in printing the petition yourself. A petition page just needs to have at least 3 signatures from registered voters in a given town. So as long as you can find 3 registered voters in that town, we have this printable petition, and that can be mailed to us to submit, verify and submit. So there's kind of multiple ways to get those signatures signed. We have volunteers going to certain events, and so head to the kind of website and Instagram account and contact us, and we'll get you looped into the best way to make that happen. Chrissy, if there's anything you want to add?
No, that was everything. It's perfect. Instagram and website, it's all out there.
Okay, so listen, my people, together we can make this possible. So I need you to all tell a friend to tell a friend, and we need to spread this word like the gospel. So you guys, that's what we need to do. And what I'm going to do is, once I receive the link, I'm going to have it uploaded and posted on my Still a Man page, and I'm going to implore all my followers and all my friends on Facebook and my other social media platforms to share this link with others. Because come on, guys, we can make this happen. We got to do this. Robert, you got anything to add?
No, I'm gonna try to switch up the last question for them because we normally it's like a 1-part question, but today I feel that I need to ask a little bit more in depth about this prison reform results. So the last question goes like this for you, Miss Caroline. Um, where do you see yourself in 5 years, and where do you hope to see the prison reform project or programs in 5 years?
So, specifically the constitutional amendment timeline for that reform.
Hmm.
Okay. Yes. So, to give like the actual where we hope to see it is if there's this if the signature collection is successful this fall, then we hope over the course of the next two legislative sessions that the Massachusetts legislature votes favorably for this constitutional amendment, so that it can go before voters in fall 2028. That is a kind of ideal timeline for this reform effort. Um, that is kind of, yeah, that's the big goal in terms of this effort to restore voting rights to people in the state. But as I mentioned, I think the bigger long-term goals and 5-year plan involve that the process of doing this along the way is to, as I mentioned, make that bigger mark on um, empowering um, individuals behind the wall to advocate for issues that go beyond what we've been talking about of voting, but as you mentioned, other elements of like prison reform to advocate for those issues as kind of very engaged members of the polity. So, yeah, I think that there's like that very mechanical timeline that we're hoping to see with a successful constitutional amendment to make these changes. And then, as I mentioned, there's the more process and intangible impacts that can hopefully impact reform more broadly.
Okay. Um, Now to you, Miss Chrissy. A little bit more about where you see yourself in 5 years, and if you have anything to add to what Miss Caroline said about the prison reform.
One more
Hello,
time.
Miss Chrissy.
I'm here, sorry.
No worries.
Um, it would be really cool. I was sitting here thinking that in 5 years from now, if I were able to say that, yes, this was passed and the amendment was changed in the Mass Constitution, like how amazing would that be? So I hope in 5 years that's where we're at, that we, through either the signature collection, through voting, through in um, the legislature, or like a combo of the two, that it just gets onto the ballot and voted through, to be able to say that, the times have changed from the 90s, and the mass incarceration and how people were thinking about just how it was back then, and to be able to say, yes, we have changed. And so that would be great. And yeah, like Caroline said, in terms of the prison reform, just overall, it would also be great in 5 years to think of how many coalition members and friends of our members who will be released and on the outside, and the work that they're doing, because there's already people out here on the outside who have been released and are just doing amazing work every day. And it would just be great to see the additional members and what else is happening and what they're doing now that they're out.
Love it. So, before you guys go, I want you to tell the people your contact information so that they can reach out, because it's very important. So if you can give me your contact information.
Any type of social media platforms, or if you feel free with your email addresses, or however you can allow them to reach out to you for some type of information.
The
Oh, sure.
corporation, the company.
Yeah. So you're definitely going to want to follow us on Instagram, and
Caroline Sullivan
that's,
to everyone, https://
oh yeah.
www.edc-unlockdemocracy.com https:// www.instagram.com/edc.unlockdemocracy/ new unread messages. You have a new message,
So
Carol.
Caroline put that in the chat.
Yeah,
So
sorry about that. Didn't realize.
no worry, no worry. Just say that out loud. Say that out loud for the
New
viewers.
unread messages.
Yeah, the Instagram is edc.unlockdemocracy.ma. So you can go on there, like Caroline was saying, and find all sorts of links and just, even see testimonies from our most recent hearing at the State House and, just message us and find out what's going on. And then Caroline, you have the website?
Mhm. Yes. So our website is EDC, stands for Empowering Descendant Communities. So EDC-unlockdemocracyma.com. And yeah, has similar, also links out to the Instagram and has some other information, some recent op-eds from our team, and ways, there's emails for folks to reach out to EDC there as well.
So what about, is there a phone number?
No.
No phone number?
No phone number.
No worries, people. We are going. We doing everything on the internet. So
Yes.
it is what it is. You got to get computer savvy. You're gonna lose out. Rob, you got anything to add?
I just want to say to the viewers, no work gets done if you don't get out there and try to do something.
All right, ladies, do you have any parting words?
Just thank you. Thanks for having us on, and for everyone who is going to listen and learn and hopefully help out. We really appreciate it.
I second that.
Go on. And we appreciate you guys from coming on. I mean, this is a blessing, not just a blessing to our platform, it's a blessing to all the people out there that needs this type of information that can carry something away with them.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
My people, you have heard it here first on The Man in the Mirror. There is a movement taking place. Get in line or get left behind. See you guys next time. When I look into the mirror, I like what I see, because the image staring back looks a lot like me. I'm a student of the game in pursuit of the fame. I keep it simple and plain, I want the world to know my name. Since I'm my brother's keeper, let me school you like a teacher. My people, you are lost, so let me lead you like a preacher. You can search the whole world, but you still won't find another show like this, because we're one of a kind. No ifs, buts about it, never will you doubt it. Still a Man is the brand. Now let me hear you shout it. You got it, you got it. Now let's take it from the top and let the whole world shout it. Who am I? The man in the mirror. Say it loud. The man in the mirror. Say it proud. The man in the mirror. One more time, cause I still can't hear you. Who am I? The man in the mirror. Say it loud. The man in the mirror. Say it proud. The man in the mirror. Now tell the world. The man in the mirror.